So a very, very warm welcome to all the participants today for this panel discussion on future in teaching. It's really very, very overwhelming to see a huge participation and of course the presence of our very eminent speakers for the panel discussion. A very good afternoon to all of you from KJ Somaya College of Education. So let me begin by telling you a little bit about KJ Somaya College of Education. Though I'm very, very sure that being a world-class premier educational institution, everyone is definitely aware of what we do at KJ Somaya College of Education. So we are a constituent college of Somaya Vidya Vihar University, accredited with A grade by NAC, and this is the very first college of education in the entire Maharashtra to get an autonomous status. This is also a place where budding teachers, teacher educators, researchers, and aspiring leaders engage with knowledge-enabling environments, contemplate a lot on decisions, dialogue, and reflect on practices and policies. Our vibrant learning environments craft holistic, meaningful experiences which go a long way in constructively contributing to progressive society. About the programs that we offer, so we are offering B.Ed, M.Ed programs which are approved by the National Council of Teacher Education, and we are also a PhD center. There are some new programs which are being launched from the year 2023 onwards, like the Masters of Arts in Educational Management and Leadership. Alongside with that, we also offer some diploma programs like a postgraduate diploma in Educational Management and a postgraduate diploma in Educational Leadership, because we intensely believe that teachers are not only teachers, but they're all managers as well as leaders, and therefore we should give them due credit for that. About KJ Somaya College of Education, so we offer a very comprehensive, global and innovative curriculum which is based on the actual needs of the educational institutions in India and of course across the world. So we are a globally renowned institution, and we have attachments with some very, very good schools in and around Mumbai. And we provide a lot of internship opportunities to our students. And of course, when you look at our placement record, it's a very, very impressive record with a large number of students placed and employed in schools such as Podar International, Avalon Heights, JBCN, Orchid International, Garodia International, the Somaya School, etc. Our qualified and experienced expert faculty teaches through modern, innovative, and digital methodology. And we at KJ Somaya strongly believe that there has to be a lot of deliberations and dialogues, and hence we keep having very frequent workshops, seminars, guest lectures, as well as field trips and a lot of co-curricular activities. So in a way, we look at developing our students in a very, very wholesome way. Our assessments are very, very student friendly, and in fact, we have practically done away with the paper pencil test, except for some of the mandatory requirements as per the NCT, which mandates our all courses. But other than that, we see largely to it that we have a lot of alternative modes of assessment, because a mere paper pencil test is never going to tap the real potential of the students, and it's just merely an indication of your scholastic achievement. But as a teacher myself, when I look at teachers, I realize that there are a lot of things in their toolkits, and you just cannot assess them through what they write in a piece of paper. So again, on the behalf of the college, I extend a very, very warm welcome to all our panelists and participants. Let me begin by introducing our participants one by one. So today we are indeed fortunate to have amongst us Dr. Priya Rajwade, who is a very, very accomplished educational leader with more than 2 decades of experience in education industry, of which 15 years have been in the capacity of principal of leading educational institution. Priya ma'am, would you just wave at our participants?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So a little more about Dr. Priya Rajwade. So she is known for her empathetic leadership style and team building abilities. She has a vast experience across SSC, CBSE, ICSE, and Cambridge Board curricula, and is currently heading Podar International School, Mumbai, which is a very, very reputed CBSE school. She's a trainer, she's a mentor, she's a coach with strong focus on academic excellence, balanced with a development of aesthetic sense among students at her school. She's an empathy warrior, and we really love the coining of the word, and a very strong believer in the power of positive belief in students. Her contribution to education has been recognized with many, many awards, including Best Principal, Innovative Leader, HT Star of the Industry, Times Education Icon, Most Pleasing Principal of the Year, to just name a few. She has a very keen interest in theatre and music, and believes that her interest in co-curricular activities has contributed a great deal to her evolution as a lead. We welcome you, Dr. Priya Rajwade.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next panelist is Dr. Howard Gee. He is the principal of DSP International School. He's a UK-trained teacher and a secondary science teacher. He's worked internationally for 13 years, first in Mexico and then last 9 years in Mumbai. His lifetime goal is to ensure that education is relevant and cognizant of students' well-being. So, Dr. Howard Gee, a big wave from you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, Dr. Howard Gee. Our next panelist is Ms. Kinnari Kotecha. Her motto is to have skill development as an indispensable part of schooling and curriculum, to promote meaningful and enjoyable learning through the right pedagogy and the right media. With 12 plus years of experience in the field, she has worked on curriculums like Pearson's, UK, IPC, CIA, IB, CCEA, Creative Curriculum, and many more. She formerly headed the creative curriculum team at Podar Education and worked with GEMS Education Dubai, and she's currently with the Ministry of Education UAE. Her experience helps her in creating futuristic curriculum with proficiency aligning assessment as well as pedagogy. She is also a teacher trainer at UKCBC School College for Education Department Dubai. She has trained thousands of educators across UAE on various topics like NLP in education, career guidance and counseling, lesson planning in specialized subjects, using multiple intelligence, futuristic technology in education, as well as EQ and SQ in curriculum. So, Kinnari, a big wave from you.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, everyone.
Our next panelist is Ms. Alka Bansal. Our upcoming panelist strongly embraces the concept of growth through what you go through. I think that's a very, very powerful statement. With over decades of experience in the education sector, dedicated edupreneur, she has delved into various aspects of teaching. Her expertise ranges from imparting phonics education to young children, facilitating leadership workshops for educators, creating comprehensive content and curriculum for diverse educational levels and subjects, conducting school evaluations, and crafting school development plans. As a chief academic officer for a very prominent edtech company, she possesses valuable insights into the wide array of opportunities that extend beyond traditional school settings in the realm of teaching. So, Ms. Alka Bansal, a big wave from you.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So, on the behalf of KGSMI College of Education and all the participants, again, a very, very warm welcome to all our panelists. And I'm very sure that all of us are very eager to hear out from our panelists. So let's begin by addressing the first question to Dr. Priya. And dear participants, if you also have any questions that you would want our panelists to answer, please alongside start putting them in the chat box. We will be addressing these questions in the end. So, Dr. Priya Rajwade, are we good to go?
Yes, ma'am. Certainly.
So my question to you would be, how has the field of education evolved over the past decade? And what implications does this have for individuals pursuing careers in education?
Thank you for the question, ma'am. So first of all, I think the answer lies in the question, because in the word evolved, when we are saying how has the field of education evolved. So many people say education is changing, education has changed over the last decade or the decades before that, and everything is becoming different from what it was. But evolution is the correct word to use, because anything that evolves, evolution is always in a positive direction. So when we say that the field of education has evolved, it has truly emerged, or it is emerging rather, in its true colors, the way it should have been for many, many years. Before we go on to how the field of education has evolved, we should also dwell upon why the field of education has evolved. It is because societies, nations, they are not static, they are dynamic. So goals of a nation change with changing times, and with globalization, industrialization, with internationalization, the goals of education also changed over a period of time. And that is the reason why the field of education has to evolve and has been evolving because of that. The kind of evolution that we see in the field of education is based on recommendation of various committees, and also based on feedback from various people who lead education, and from the general community as well. So you see a tremendous change in different facets of education. Okay, so right from if you talk about the content, which is the curriculum which you deliver in a classroom, that has undergone a change. The way the content is delivered, that has undergone a change. The classroom environment has undergone a change. The mode in which we assess students also has undergone a change, and the way we give feedback also has changed. So the change has come because of the evolution that has happened across various facets of our life and in the society, and also because the educational processes today recognize that the classroom must embrace diversity, and classrooms are also inclusive. So keeping that in mind, if you look at the content of education or the curriculum that is being taught, from a curriculum that was completely information based, curriculum today is looking at connections with the world of work. What is it that children are going to do in future? So curriculum is forward looking, forward thinking, propelling the teacher and the student in the direction of what lies ahead. How will you use this content that you are learning in the world of work? Where will you apply it? So from knowledge based, from information based to knowledge based to application based, today children are the creators, co-creators of knowledge, rather than just the consumers, being the consumers of knowledge. So that's a huge difference in the content. The content focuses on development of 21st century skills. The content focuses also on competencies, rather than just the routine concepts that were there in the content earlier. So that is how the content has changed. And because the content has changed, we also see integration of subjects. Now we see art integration in content. We see integration of other co-scholastic, as you used to call those subjects. Those are integrated in the content now, and also the content has become interdisciplinary. So because content has changed, delivery has to change. It cannot remain the way it is. So we changed from blackboard to then whiteboard to technology aided teaching, and technology is playing a huge role in the sector of teaching today, not just in the form of PowerPoint presentations or videos or things like that, but moving to AR, VR, artificial intelligence and such things, which are very aligned with the psyche of today's learner, and with the way the learner today has adapted to evolution in technology also. So delivery of content cannot be the sage on the stage kind of delivery today, where a teacher is giving information and children are just noting down that information or nodding their head to what the teacher says. So the classrooms are actually alive. So coming to classroom environment, the setting has changed. Classrooms have become more collaborative and cooperative. not just the physical environment of the classroom, but the emotional environment, the social environment of the classroom also has undergone a change. And that the reason for that is people who learn together work together, right? So if you're looking at collaborative culture of work, it is very essential that we give collaborative culture of learning at school level itself, and children co-create knowledge with the help of each other than just the teacher delivering that knowledge. Also, the classroom structure has become more emotionally resilient, more in tune with the emotions that children have, so that psychological safety of every child is inclusive, is taken care of, and classrooms become explicitly inclusive, not just that they're using the term inclusive. Assessment has undergone a change because all these three things have changed. And further to assessment, I would say that assessment is not for judging, for tagging, for labeling a student. Teachers are today realizing that the brain is plastic, and therefore because of neuroplasticity, children who are not learning can learn further. So assessment has become data driven. So the first part of question, I hope I have answered. The second part of question lies in the first part of the answer. So if I say that there has been a change in all these areas, any teacher who is coming into the sector of education must then self-reflect on, I have studied in an environment which is completely different from the environment into which I go as a teacher. So these things have changed. How am I going to change myself or mold myself or adapt myself to these changes? What competencies and skills, what knowledge base do I have to add? What psychological aspects of my being do I need to work upon? What personality traits I should look at and work upon before I enter a classroom? That's very important. So because the world of education has evolved, the the corollary to that theorem is that teachers must evolve, because world of education evolved, educational processes evolved, teacher must evolve. Unless that happens, I don't think we'll be able to do justice to the children who are coming to us as learners. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Priya. So they were very, very useful insights. I particularly liked about, when you talked about technology entering into the classrooms in a big way, and AI. So no matter how much we want or we don't want, but these are there. And also when we talk about emotionally resilient students, and we are looking at inclusion in the right spirit. And just this morning when we were discussing about the future of school education, so we were talking largely about AI-driven classes, and we're looking at student assessments from a very broad angle. And I'm very glad that you touched upon these issues. So thank you. We would now move on to Dr. Howard E. Sir. Yeah. So my question to you would be, what are some opportunities for educators in the current educational landscape, with international education being sought after much in India?
Okay, thank you very much. So I feel that my answer here is going to be very much a follow-on from all of the ideas that Priya opened up. So let's start off by talking about the facts. The facts are that within our context in Mumbai, there are a lot of international schools, Cambridge and IB, and yet more are still growing. There have been big developments in terms of schools being opened this year. Furthermore, both of these organizations are moving out rapidly into two-tier and second-tier or third-tier cities. I've personally been working with Cambridge schools in Goa and Bangalore this year, and also been closely associated with some support around an IB school in Coimbatore. Across India in its vastness, there is a huge desire for and a massive growth in international curriculum schools. But I think what Priya was leading us towards was that just calling yourself an international curriculum school, just implementing the books and the curricula is not really what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is a paradigm shift in people understanding what education looks like, what it can be. And what we're really talking here about is education that is focused on learning and the learners. And therefore, the opportunities, I think, are philosophical in the sense that the job of a teacher as an educator and as somebody who develops learning, and somebody who looks at a much, much bigger picture than simply the delivery of the curriculum that they know, is a much more purposeful and meaningful job, and one which I think the bright, intelligent young Indians who are coming into the education system are hungry for. These are people who have got vast numbers of skills, and good quality education, good quality international education will give them the opportunity to flourish. Also, of course, salaries in international schools in our context in Mumbai are outstripping inflation year on year. So this is becoming an increasingly meaningful way to be able to establish a living, one where you are going to be less requiring to go out and do lots of tuitions after school. Hopefully, also, if these schools are doing things right, they are building opportunities for leading of learning from an early stage. So soon as you get into the school and you get into your career, there should be opportunities for you to start developing your learning leading in ways. International education, for example, the IB, there are units of inquiry where teachers collaborate and one person can take the lead. There are extended essays where individual teachers can mentor students through pieces of research. There are CAS supervisors where students' reflections and projects can be supervised and led by teachers. And these are things where the teacher's role with the student, the teacher's relationship with the student becomes more powerful and more meaningful, and therefore more purposeful for them as human beings. So as we make these changes, I think that there are very, very exciting opportunities for young people looking at the profession now. I think it is a profession which will be increasingly less rigid and hidebound, and I think this is very much what Priya was saying. And furthermore, as we look at upskilling Indian teachers to the levels expected to deliver international curricula properly, this opens the world to them. One of my young ex-colleagues has just left a school in Gurgaon and is off to Merida in Mexico. And I think, therefore, these personal journeys for young Indians to go out into the world with their high quality knowledge and with their high quality work ethic and their natural empathy means that this is a really, really exciting place. The international education system is still very much full of people who look like me, but that's not going to be the case in 20 years' time. It's going to be full of exciting young Indians and Africans who have got a powerful use of the English language. So I think that the growth of international education in this country is beneficial for the country, but I also think it's very, very beneficial for people looking at education as a profession.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. I'm very glad that you really pointed out the way international education has to be taken in. I think we have somewhere diluted the whole concept of international education and not realizing its real essence. So, and thank you for showing a lot of confidence in our Indian students to make them very globally competent teachers. And of course, we do see a very bright future for all our young teachers out there who are attending the program today, to see them all placed across the world and, making teaching, learning very, very innovative and creative. And of course, we do boast of a lot of potential in our students. And I'm very glad that the world is actually recognizing the talents of the Indians, and we are, of course, going towards international education. So thank you for that. We move on to our next panelist, Ms. Kinnari Kotecha. So, Ms. Kinnari, my question to you would be, What are the various career paths available within education sector apart from the traditional teaching roles? Because I think for all the participants also present here today, largely we associate a career in education to be only in terms of teaching. But of course, Ms. Kinnari will throw light on the different kinds of career paths that are available within the education.
Thank you. So let me begin with saying that the panelist over here has talked about the evolution that has happened, and they have talked about the exchange of curriculum and things like that. So obviously what happens is this brings in completely new scenario, moving out from traditional roles like I want to be a teacher, I want to be a supervisor, a principal or something like that. And this change is not so recent. It's like a decade back, this change has started, and now it's at its maturity. Like there's everywhere in the market where you will find so many different career options in education. Now, I would say that what I'm going to say now is something look out in a very opportunistic way. I'm going to talk to you about a global thing, the global careers, as well as something which is happening right now in Mumbai and in the metro cities. In India as well. Learn, this is a trend. What happens in the neighboring country is going to come in your country as well, or it has already come in your country. So it's the only part where you have not researched or you have not explored it well. So when we talked about evolution, Ma'am Priya talked about evolution. So when we evolved learning about emotions, okay, students' emotions and their well-being and things like that, we came up with the career options of school counselors. The school counselors started, and then we have school intervention specialist. The school intervention specialist is completely who looks into the remedial teaching part of it, supporting them how to study and improvement plans with them. Okay, then we came up with speech therapist. Then we came up with so many different aspects. So now you have leaders who look only into the well-being. So there are principals or the managerial roles which look into the well-being and the safeguarding of the school students. Okay, so there is a special role for that. This gets more, furthermore, what happened is we also got to know that when there is an exchange happening, exchange of not only the curriculum, but also the students, there started a problem of, we see that there's bullying going on, there is different elements that never existed or maybe never existed in such a high proportion earlier. That came up with a new role called as social worker. So now you have a role called as social workers. And this doesn't mean that you're going and not getting paid. You definitely get paid, but then what you're doing is you're doing a social work kind of a thing where you are bringing the community, the school, a community where everybody is safe, mentally, emotionally, and things like that. Moving down further. So when you say exploration, so of course, Alka is going to speak a lot about it, but then I would only talk about the career part of it. I have come across so many inspiring examples that people have become educational game designers, and you get recruited by big companies or the big school groups which are looking out for people who are into game designing, okay, resource designing. And then we came up with curriculum designing. And not only the curriculum designer has to be a subject matter expert, we're also looking out for people who have that kind of creativity and the outlook to suit the role. So there comes an instructional designer again. When we talked about the IB and Cambridge coming in, then I recently saw the Singapore system coming in India. Okay, this brought in a lot of jobs for internal verifiers and the examiners. So internal verifiers is something where you become like an officer who goes and looks into the system, the documentation, the data, the practices, and you evaluate what are the changes needed in the system, or you make it better, or you literally verify with a benchmark that has been given by the authority or the curriculum back in the country. Okay, so this brings in so many roles that are actually evolving right now. Again, I believe when I entered the system, I was all my mindset about education was I need to add creativity to this field. And that is what I did. And I'm very proud to say that I was able to do what I had thought. Okay. Similarly, you have to just understand that there are so many things. You have publications coming up. The publications are asking more and more educators to join them. And it's not a publication role. It's much more detailed role. It's much more detailed than just being a part of publication. You can become a quality assurance officers, inspectors, Cambridge examiners. And then there is something called as OCR. This is Oxford Cambridge assessments. So you can enroll with them and you can go ahead with this kind of thing. I remember one thing I would like to say. More than a decade back, I think I got to know much about phonics from somebody who's over here, Alka. Okay. And that time phonics was something new in the market, and everybody, oh, I want to be a phonics teacher, I want to be a phonics trainer, and people didn't understand how to do that. Today, if you see, every school around will have a phonics teacher, every school. So what is upcoming in the market is also that you need to look at, like, is this upcoming? Is this what I need to do? This is what I like, I'm passionate about, and that can become your career as well. In this journey of education, where I have been involved for 12 plus years, I met so many people, so many different people. And I would like to mention here, because we are talking about jobs and career over here, career goes much beyond just working in the school, okay, and getting yourself employed. So I met some people. I remember Dr. Shweta. She's no more, but she started as a storyteller. She became an author. She started her own blogs, and she was an aspiring person. You should just look at her work. So what I want to tell you over here is there are so many educationists who have gone beyond just the traditional roles defined by the world, and they have made up. So if you look at Barbara Oakley, okay, she is a writer, she's an author, she's a TED talker, she has various books. You have people coming up with courses that people want to learn. The upcoming thing is neuroscience. So if you are somebody who is into neuroscience, and you can come up with the expertise that can help designing lessons and the courses with neuroscience, that is the upcoming career. So I think it's just that how you look at it. Coding is something that has started a decade back, and it's taking place everywhere. So what I want to highlight over here is, in my tenure of this years, I have always got this question from students. I am an engineer. I come from a field of art and design. How do I fit in a school system? Will I be even accepted? Well, there's too much of options, too much of opportunity. You just need to get into the system and understand and really research well what is going on. And you will definitely find the best fit for you. So, there are so many career options and things like that. Yeah, I think I have quite answered the question related to the career options right now.
Thank you, Kinnari. I think you opened a very, very big platform in front of all of us, to explore a lot of careers, especially like the mention of instructional designers and resource designers, something that, many of us may not be exploring too much about. And of course, coding, or when we talk about being the assessment officer. So we normally think teachers are doing a multiple role of being a teacher, also an assessor. And we never think that, we could have these specialized positions as people who are assessors. So definitely looking forward to many more of such kind of discussions today. So thank you for opening the alternative pathways in front of all of us. I now move on to Ms. Alka Bansal. Ms. Alka, my question to you would be, in the light of advancements in technology and of course remote learning, how has the role of educators changed?
So thank you, Pooja ma'am. So I guess quite a bit of the information, I'm just going to continue with what Priya ma'am and Kinnari has said. So just as education has evolved, the role of educators has evolved over a period of time. And like Kinnari said, it is not about teaching, or the educators are not just merely teachers, but they have to, they have become far more, their spectrum has increased to a larger extent. The scope of what they can do in the education field has increased, how much they can change things, and the power to change things actually lies in their hands. So it's not limited to just teaching in the classroom. So definitely due to the change of technology and things that have changed through the pandemic, roles of educators have really widened with regards to the different types of skills and competencies that they need to develop in order to, do justice to their role or the widened role. I think one thing which is fundamental to all educators is they need to become very open-minded. They should be willing to learn. They should be willing to change or come out of their, belief systems of, how a particular thing is done. They should be willing to take the risk to explore new possibilities of delivering the same content or, showing things to students. So first of all, being adaptive, being willing to accept that there is a change and adapting yourself, immersing yourself in the change and driving the change. All of this requires a lot of open mindset. So that is very important. That's a very important skill that a teacher should have. And it all percolates, it's a top-down effect. If a teacher is open, if a teacher is willing to accept the change, if a educator is ready to take the risk, you will see that our children will be able to take that risk or willing to explore new possibilities. And that is when the students will be able to find solutions of new kinds of problems or be prepared for, becoming global citizens. Like, as we said, we want to make students global citizens. That's the objective of international schools. So in order to make students global citizens, first of all, that openness has to come. So that's the most important skill or competency that is required in educators. Second thing is that, yes, technology is there. So you have to be on top of it. We cannot be just, hung on the, by saying, okay, I'm not a very tech savvy person. That doesn't work. That is a primary skill that you have to develop. The future lies in technology. So you have to shake yourself and, adapt yourself to the latest technology. You have to learn. And not only learn, you have to be an expert in delivering it, and you have to become so adept at it that you should be able to guide the students they have to use technology positively. So students, we hear teachers saying, my students teach me how to use something. That's a great thing. But then you have to teach the students how to use technology positively. Students may know a lot, but you are the guide, you are the torchlight, you have to show them the direction. You cannot do that unless you are very adept or, you are skilled at it. So you have to always be one notch up when it comes to technology to be able to, drive that, learning or, be more accepted by the students. That's another skill or competency, if you may call, is required. Social media is in. So teachers have to be willing to be, to network. It's a huge world. Teachers and educators are all around the world. If you are running an international school, you are part of an international school system. You cannot be saying that, I'm not a social media person. You have to be a social media person, and you have to use it positively to your advantage. You have to draw connections from the international teaching community, educating community, and use it to your advantage so that you know what is the world doing when it comes to education. How are the teachers over there learning? What are they doing and how are they solving the challenges? Believe you me, students everywhere in the world are alike. It's not that Indian students are an X category students and American students are Y category, or, a British style is different. Their mindset and the growth trajectory is more or less the same. So many solutions and so many ideas can be taken from the international community if you're part of the networking system. So that's another skill or competency that teachers should be developing in order to, be up their game with the change in how things have evolved in education. Another thing that I feel is they should be, like Priya ma'am said, collaboration, being more cooperative. I think in the past, teachers used to believe, or it was a myth that, if I am an expert in the subject, I can do best with the job. But I think now we has become a very powerful term. If teachers collaborate, teachers use cooperative methods to achieve the outcomes, they are able to achieve more and in a much robust manner. Still, students are very demanding. The environment, the social environment is very demanding. You cannot be expecting your one individual or one whole self to be able to handle a whole class of 50 and, satisfy the demands of all the units or all the students. So a collaborative environment, a cooperative environment is something which will be a win-win situation for you and the students. They will learn more and you will be able to enjoy the whole experience and give that spirit of teamwork, generate that spirit of teamwork, which is another futuristic need which you can be doing. And I think data is something which all of us have been talking about. You might not be a math or a statistics person, but data helps you in more than many ways. It allows you to make objective decisions. It allows you to channelize your energies in the right direction. It allows you to understand the student's need. So learning how to use data to, to your advantage, to interpret data, to make sense out of data, or even to identify what are the data points that you require to collect in order to make sure that your engagement with the students, or, how you're running your school, if you are able to find conclusions from that data, I think that will be a more objective way of doing that. It will be more purposeful and your energies will be deviated or directed or channelized in the direction more productively. So I think these are some of the skills and competencies that we need, that teachers need to do with the way the systems of schools and education has evolved. I think I've covered most of the things that skills and competencies that educators need to develop.
Thank you, Ms. Alka, and I'll just reconnect whatever you said with what Kinnari was also saying, that, we just cannot live in brackets anymore and think that what's happening in the other countries, won't be happening here. So, you rightly said that there are there's a lot of the boundaries have removed, and of course, rightly, the belief systems. We do have to start with the belief systems, and that is something that really needs to be worked upon. And of course, once that is worked upon, adaptations and flexibilities and open-mindedness would naturally follow. And we ourselves have to orient towards taking the risk, positive risk, and how to do crisis management, and how to mitigate these risks and bring them within the education sector, so that our students are very apt at problem solving. And of course, you just cannot remain in our brackets and say that we are not into social media or technology, whether we want it or not. The world is asking for it, and I just cannot remain isolated. So thank you for bringing all these aspects into the picture. So my next question would be to Ms. Kinnari again. So Ms. Kinnari, how can aspiring educators navigate the various pathways and specializations within the field of education to find the right career?
Thank you for the question. I would like to throw a little light on who I am and how I started before I get into this. I was a media graduate. A proper media graduate who was very passionate about advertising, who made a big name in journalism even as an intern. Okay. And I am an MBA person even before I started into education. Now, when this thought came to me that this is my calling, okay, I discovered this is my calling. And when I entered the field, the first thing I was told by my mom was, whatever you do, get qualified for it. Be the best at it and get qualified for it. And that is when I started my BA education with Somaya. And when I was interviewed by the principal, okay, and she asked me, why, what are you going to do with this degrees that you have? Isn't it going to be wasted? Or what are you going to use it at? She was in a more positive direction. And I said, I can do something in the classroom which no teacher has done before. And believe me, from starting newsletters, using media to the maximum level in teaching subjects like business, marketing, economics, I was phenomenal at my job, okay? Now, the question is, when I said to the principal that I'm here to change the system, I'm not going to change the system by saying that, oh, I have to be a leader somewhere. It's not going to happen. So my first thing with the career is get started. Get started in that direction. Don't go in the market saying, I don't have qualifications, I don't have things in place, but give me a job. Nobody is going to give you a job. And if you get a job, that is going to be a substandard pay, substandard environment. And then after a few years, again, you will be jumping here or there. Okay. So don't do that. get yourself qualified, get yourself equipped, skilled, recognized, and then go out in the market and see, take something which is your best. So for example, because everybody knows that once you are in the final year of B.Ed, or, when you're going to come out, there are a lot of schools and you get a job placement very easily. Okay. And I saw a lot of people were jumping into it. Like, for example, you get an English teacher. I was not qualified to teach English, by the way. So I got in as an English teacher and I said, no, I'm not, I don't want to take up this. This is not what I see long way. It's not going long way. So I stuck to something which is going long way. I started as a international teacher of business, okay, with Bansal school, okay. And that was my first break. And nothing goes waste. Nothing ever goes waste. Whatever knowledge of students that I got from there, okay, whatever knowledge of curriculum that I developed from there, and that gave me an idea that no, I want the people to think that this is a most creative job. The mindset of people, like, Alka mentioned, the mindset was a biggest barrier when I entered. And I saw people were not ready to accept something which was new, which was more, which was something different from what existed. And that became a motivation factor. So next time when I started looking out for a job, the first requirement I saw was, is this a job which will allow me to be creative? Is this a job which is going to make me a change maker? And that is how I got into creative curriculum. Okay. So first thing is get started with the open mindset. Stick to your subject specialization. Do not dilute your levels. There is lots of opportunities in the market. So just stick to it. Next is one thing that I have found out, that people do not research well. And that becomes the biggest barrier in just settling for anything around. So research a lot of trends that are going on in different countries, neighboring countries, in your own country. What is going on? What is the changes that are happening? So ma'am was talking about the things that are happening new before we started this meeting. And look at the educational policy. What changes are they wanting you to do? What is the, research everything. Research the different job markets. Do job market analysis. It is important, right? Even the engineer does it, even the doctor does it. Why don't we do it? Look at the job market analysis. What is the future jobs? What are the requirements? Which country, which location in India or which location outside is looking out for the fresh minds? And, they really need people right now. You will be amazed to actually know what kind of packages are being offered to an educator today. If you're qualified, if you are somebody who is coming out with skills and you have passion for your subject, whether it is ICT, whether it is arts, whether it is media. I was absorbed as a media person over here because there were no media teachers. So I got into the system, UAE system, because I had a media before, so nothing goes waste ever. So find a good job, make your LinkedIn profile speak, make your profile speak, guys, because even when you are a student at Somaya College or when you're doing your master's or whatever, there are so many things happening in Somaya College that any college, maybe I don't know, but I was a part of Somaya, so I can speak about it. There are so many events that keep happening. Put it online, say that I did this, I was into the research, I did this, and let your profile speak that the years that you invested in education were something where you have grown, and you are already ready to be a part of the market. And while you do this, add different HRs, add different leaders of the organization, add different principals and management, university people, so that you make your profile. LinkedIn profile or any profile is not where you just add people and grow the numbers. It's about who you connect with. So this is the best way you will find what I want to do, where I want to do, how I want to do, and at which level I want to do. And do not settle for less. This is not where you settle for less. It's a very beautiful field which is going to reward you. So it's just that develop right skill and right qualification. So I think I've answered in a crux.
Thank you, Kinnari. And very rightly said, she's a student of Somaya. And of course, Somaya it's a hub of activity. I mean, there's so many activities happening, and she rightly pointed out that, we make sure that our students are putting up all these activities, because now the world is looking forward to knowing what you are doing, You just cannot expect people to come and find about you. You have to shout and tell, that this is what I am and this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to transform the world. And rightfully said, nothing goes waste. every experience, whether it's a 10-minute experience or it's a year-long experience with the students, every moment, with the students connected with the education world brings in transformations. And very rightly said, research. We all need to contribute a lot towards research. And I'm very glad to tell you that, we have introduced research as a compulsory paper in our Bachelor of Education. Because I feel that, teachers should be doing research. Because normally research is taken up if you decide to do your master's in education. But teachers are not coming up with publications. And I feel, they are the ones who have maximum data. And they should be the ones, who should be dictating the policy makers that this is the research, these are the kind of issues in the classrooms. This is what we want in the policy, rather than, the policy makers telling the educators what they're supposed to do. It should be the other way around, where the educators do research, and through their research finding, they inform the policy makers that this is how the policy of education should be made. And thank you for showing so much of confidence in the abilities of students who pass out from Somaya. My next question would be for Dr. Howard Key. Sir, what strategies can educators employ to stay updated with the latest research, best practices, and educational policies in order to enhance their teaching effectiveness?
Thank you very much, Pooja. I think this is one of those big questions. Firstly, I completely agree with you. Teachers should be doing research. I'd just like to touch back on what Kinnari was talking about when she was talking about building your profiles, because this is a very good way of building your profile. So in many respects, anything I'm going to talk about really supports what she was saying. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not very impressed when I get a curriculum vitae that comes across my desk from a teacher that basically says, I teach. There's a list, sometimes a long list of things which they do in a classroom, like mark books and organized learning. And you're going, yeah, yes, that's what a teacher does. Now, what else have you done? What are you doing to make yourself better? And what has that benefited your learners? That's the sort of stuff that we're interested in seeing. And that's the sort of stuff that's going to build your profile, which is obviously of interest to employers like me. So just again to hook back into what you said, one of the writers on education whom I read, and I don't read anything like as many as I should, is a gentleman called Tom Sherrington from the UK. He wrote a lovely, very readable book called The Teaching Rainforest. I think that's what it was called, where he talks specifically about the several schools he'd been in, all with strengths, but the one that was most spectacular for him was the one where the staff room was full of people talking about learning, and where there was a culture of research. And this is something that I certainly value and I'm trying to bring into my own school. And I know, for instance, people who worked as directors of research or leaders of research in many other international schools. And as a day-to-day teacher, with all the work that you have to do, it sometimes seems difficult. We all know we should engage with the literature, but we've got a pile of books to mark, but we've got another lesson to plan, or we've got a parents' meeting, and on it goes. So we all understand why teachers don't do this as much as they should. And really, it's the responsibility of educational leaders to create opportunities that cause this to happen. So my rule would be every staff meeting, every departmental meeting has an opportunity for somebody to share a learning, a reading, a webinar, a pre-read that we can all come and talk about. And that really is the responsibility of the educational leaders to create that, to permit it and to enforce it. Then I think we all have lots of things as leaders that we know that we want to innovate in our schools. These will work much better if you get teams of teachers to work together, to collaborate, and charge them with researching and finding this out. So they have to do it. They're encouraged to do it. They are celebrated and valued for doing it. and then, you know, I think that there are lots of opportunities for teachers to link into other networks. Within the international education system, many people can become examiners or workshop leaders or moderating with people from other schools, getting an opportunity to work with professionals outside of their day-to-day lives, and seeing that that is actually a critical part of their job being a teacher. It is not good enough if your job is, you know, you get up, you go to work, you go in your classroom, you come home again. That isn't going to make you better. It's just going to mean you've done it more often. But, you know, going back to the fact that teachers are very busy people, it is down to leaders within education to create the understanding that this is important, to create the opportunities in a busy day where it can happen, and also to promote people who are good at leading learning. So for far too much in this country, there's this concept of the coordinator. Perhaps we should ban the coordinator. We have middle leaders, people who are already taking responsibility for the learning of the young people around them and for their colleagues. And you know, that should be part of everybody's job description. It's written in that you have to be involved in a project, or you have to lead a unit of inquiry, and you have to do evidence-based research or action research to support the conclusions that you're coming up with. And when you see that you've got somebody good, promote them as a leader of learning and not as somebody to push around pieces of paper or pass on messages from the senior leadership. So, I mean, the concept of an advanced skills teacher is something which we had in the UK, and that person being shared between schools to promote high quality learning in their subject. They're inspiring people to work with, and we all have colleagues who we know are like that. We would all like them to help us, and for them that is meaningful, purposeful work. So by doing all of this, you build a culture where people will have opportunities, will be required to engage with the research and actually do some of their own, and take away that, oh, I can't do it because I'm too busy. So I hope that's answered your question, Pooja.
Yes, of course, Dr. Howard. And I particularly liked that a part of your response where you talked about the staff meetings, because normally the way we look at staff meeting is to discuss these mundane everyday issues. And I think you very rightly pointed out that, you know, there should be forums where we are doing some pre-readings and coming up, reading about, doing research, doing evidence-based research. And these forums are very, very important to bring about these connections within the teaching faculty as well, you know, because all the other activities would keep on happening. But when do we connect with each other as educators and learn from each other's experience? So very rightly said, you know, staff meetings and all faculty forums should be taken in that essence. And I'm very glad to also tell you that we started this practice in our Samaya College of Education to bring in these connections between the staff members and, you know, sit and discuss issues related to education in our faculty forums. And I think that's something very, very important. And I'm glad as a leader you are taking it through. My next question would be to Ms. Alka Bansal. Ms. Alka, what are some of the emerging trends and innovations in education that educators should be very, very much aware of as they plan their careers?
So thank you, Pooja, ma'am. So I'm just going to continue to build on what Dr. Lee said, that one of the most emerging trends that you see in education right now is research. Research-based learning has become the need of the hour. And again, when we are saying that when our students are competing with international or global students, it is observed that one element where our students fall behind a bit is in the method of research. They really don't know how to research, what to research, or what exactly research means. So now it's a trend in education where people or schools are trying to incorporate research-based education or research-based learning in their curriculum, where assessments are also shifting towards certain assignments or modules that are research-driven. So that is one thing which the educators or the new teachers should build in their own profile, where they know how to conduct research, how to direct learning through research, and they should be they should themselves know how to research. They should be able to research on anything and have a strong research mindset. Personalized learning or adaptive learning is something, is yet another trend that you're seeing. For many years, we did realize that India was a vast country with diverse background, social background, economical background. However, we felt that one size fits all. And I think we had infrastructure challenges. We had our own limitations, due to which we were not customizing education for students. But now the trend is that we see the need of identifying the students' capabilities, interests, learning styles, and giving due respect to each of that, and provide them a learning experience that is tailor-made for that. So you may call it personalized learning. In some cases, you might call differentiated learning. So providing those kind of learning experiences, yet another trend. So this has probably been possible because of advent of technology, because personalized learning, adaptive learning, differentiated learning would be very difficult in a class without technology. Again, you would need a lot of data points to help you identify the differences, provide differentiated kind of, platforms, or provide different kinds of assessment or content. So you need to have that support. Again, you see, this is not possible without collaboration and cooperative learning. So all these things are very deeply interwoven. So what is when we are saying that personalized learning or differentiated learning is a new trend, it goes hand in hand with technology. It goes hand in hand with cooperative and collaborative learning. It's not something that you can do single-handedly. Then integration of subjects, integration of concepts and ideas is one of the very emerging thing that you see in education. You will need to see that while you are an expert in mathematics, you are able to connect the dots from mathematics to science and geography and history, and show the relevance to the students, how each of them is integrated. So I always say one thing, when problems of the world don't come subject wise, how can we expect students to understand concept and gain advantage subject wise? We need to integrate. Often we spend a lot of time teaching information multiple times, because they are taught in separate compartments. If these concepts are taught in an integrated manner, I think we will be able to save a lot of time and really deepen the concept, deepen the understanding, and help application to the students. When we are talking about innovative trends, we cannot leave artificial intelligence behind, for sure. So we are all aware that artificial intelligence is here and it is there to stay. And I think as educators, we are the change makers. We have to learn to accept it, take it to our advantage, and see how artificial intelligence can be used. And I have been advocating artificial intelligence to a great extent, and I see the advantage. It definitely makes the life of the educator easy. It gives a lot of scope of, doing it takes care of a lot of thinking and analysis that you have to do, and gives you information on the platter, and then you can use that towards your advantage. So using artificial intelligence in order to drive the learning outcomes, in order to create engagement, in order to solve bigger complex situations, is something which is a trend now. Augmented reality, virtual reality, these are the upcoming things. Students are exposed to so much. They are exposed to television, social media. Their neurons, they're always jumping, they need to be kept excited. It cannot be how in the past, students used to see their teacher and stand up and sit down, and they would they were listening. Now the attention span of the students has reduced. It's gone down to such an extent that we need to come out with really new methods and styles that keeps them engaged. And we are blessed that there are innovators who are creating things for us which we can actually use in classroom. So augmented reality, virtual reality is a trend. You have many companies which are creating solutions using these and giving stimulations to the students where they are actually enjoying the real experience, and the knowledge that stays, it's permanent, it's deep rooted. When you're giving that kind of simulation, the students need not learn by heart, they need not rote learn, they don't really need a textbook to understand a concept. It is there, and it is, their understanding is very deep, so it stays there for a very long time. So this is another thing which is very upcoming, and the teachers need to be aware of. Game based learning, gamification is something which we all are aware. But here I would very specifically mark that during the pandemic, most teachers were exposed to various types of gaming platforms, and they got adept to it and they started using it. But there is a very slight difference between understanding how they have to use the gaming platform or gamification. Our ultimate goal is not to give a fun experience to the students. Fun comes as a bonus to the students. But what I have been seeing of late is that teachers think that, okay, let me add a game at the end of the class for the sake of fun. Now that is where that has to be really understood, that games and gamification have to be used productively, effectively, as a tool to engage students and deliver the actual outcome. Your focus is still that you are passing knowledge. Fun comes as an extra bit, as a bonus. So that has to be done. So again, that's a very thing, very very in thing, where schools and teachers and educators are adapting to gamification. We are also looking at home based learning, where homeschooling is becoming a trend. And when you look at homeschooling, everything else that I said, it is encompasses that. So in homeschooling, you see that you have a technology driven lesson plans, you have personalized learning, you have games, you have assessments which are very data driven, so it's very remediation kind. So all these things, so homeschooling also has become a it's an innovative trend in a method of schooling. There is a lot of acceptance to homeschooling now, with parents becoming global citizens, traveling abroad, having very little time, or are not able to stick to one city, one town. So that is also one emerging thing that we see in education, where where the coming educators or the upcoming teachers can explore possibilities to venture out and see what they can do in that field. I think I've covered almost all the aspects of the trends that are there in education now.
Thank you, Ms. Alka. So very rightly said, we need this research-driven academia, and of course, differentiated instructions. We can no longer afford compartmentalization. Unfortunately, we are still going with not theme-based teaching learning, but very compartmentalized teaching learning. And that is why we are very discipline focused, and we don't come out of these silos. And I think that is something that needs to be really removed from our ecosystems. And of course, very rightly said, AI, gamification, all that need of the art. Specifically, I wanted to point out that a few months back when ChatGPT came, I think all of us were very alarmed that, how much plagiarism will happen and it will go undetected. And now I see that so many webinars are happening where now they're saying using ChatGPT in the classroom, and I see how fast we have adapted to something that we were considering to be so negative. Now we're bringing it in the classroom within a span of few months, and all of us are very excited. On a humorous note, so just when we were falling short of a vote of thanks for one of the events, suddenly it had to come. We used a ChatGPT, and ChatGPT did a flawless job. So I'm all for ChatGPT, and I just want to see how do we bring it into the classrooms, and I'm looking forward to it, really looking. Okay, my next question to Dr. Priya. So Dr. Priya, how important is professional development and continuous learning for educators? And what are some of the effective ways to pursue ongoing growth and development in?
So I don't even know where to begin. I've been listening to everyone and what Dr. Howard said and what Alka said, what Kinnari said. And I'm just thinking in my head. So coming from what, so there's a preface to what I'm going to answer for your question, ma'am. So Dr. Howard said when you get a CV and you're not very impressed because it only says, that I went, I taught this class, I taught this subject, and so on and so forth. So the question that comes to my mind in relation to professional development of teachers, what a teacher should think. So completing your B.Ed and landing a job as a teacher in any school, whether it is primary level or secondary level or whatever, is that the start of your journey into education, or is that the end point for you? Right? So if you think I've done it now, I'm done with my graduation, my B.Ed, I got a good job in a good school, good salary that's going to increase incrementally, and I'm all sorted and settled, holidays, this, that, everything. So this is the end for me now, and this is what I have achieved, I have arrived. So if you're coming from that kind of mindset, then definitely you are just doing a job. Okay, job is a task, right? One job, another job, another job. But as Kinnari was talking about profession and career, when you are saying profession, a profession has many jobs. So a teacher is not just delivering content. A teacher is looking at the emotional development of students. A teacher is developing skill in students. A teacher is keeping track of data. A teacher is looking at new technology. She's constantly thinking of how can I make this better for my children, for my students, for those who are entrusted to me, right? That's profession. And I have a great admiration for what Kinnari spoke today about her lived experiences and her journey. She's made a career out of education. That's no longer a profession. So career is a very, very broad canvas, very broad scope. And there lies the fact, which comes from the CV Dr. Howard spoke about and what Kinnari spoke about also. Usually we end up saying what we do. We don't say who we are, right? So if I talk about Kinnari now, I know that she's creative. I know she'll not settle for less. I know that she's a go-getter. I know that, these things. So who are you as a person? Okay, you come, you're doing this particular, you're enrolled or you enrolled for the course, you came out and you started your journey over here. So unless and until you develop yourself to fit into the profession, not today, but for many future years to come, and do not a good job of it, but contribute in a manner that shows who you are, not what you do. So when you are able to merge the two, who you are and what you do, that is when you have arrived. See, if you talk about, say, a mother is all the time a mother. She's not a mother for 6 hours and not a mother for another 4 hours. I mean, she's constantly thinking of what needs to be done for the best for her family, for her children, or whatever it is. So a leader is a leader, a go-getter. You need not have a position to become a leader. You would say, who would this do? Ma'am, I'll do it. I'll take the lead. I will do this. So the leader is emerged. The leader will showcase himself or herself. It is very important for teachers to understand this, that when you come out of B.Ed and when you land a job, in whatever profile you have come, going from a primary teacher to secondary teacher is not growth for you. That's not professional development. It's a very tiny aspect of your professional development. And if you're not engaging in professional development courses, you're standing still. Standing still is as good as going backwards, because the world is moving at such a rapid rate today that everybody wants to be ahead of the curve. And if we do not have that desire, that burning desire to actually stay ahead of the curve, then we are stagnant. And why are we okay with it? Is it something, that many a times I hear when we talk about professional development of teachers? I'll come in a moment to what all it will entail. But the questions that come, I mean, the hiccups that are there is like, additional time has to be spent there. We need time for this and many other things. There's no work-life balance, if you're calling for a training, or if you're wanting you to do a action research, or we're wanting you to do something beyond what you do in the 8 hours as a teaching job or correction job or whatever other job. So if you think that because of that there is no work-life balance, you think that your life and work are enemies of each other, right? They're two separate things. The work is not like your life and life is not your work. So when you're completely demarking the two, completely separating the two, there is always going to be conflict. So professional development courses that are aimed at equipping teachers for all the evolution that has happened in the field of education in three aspects. Okay, for anything, any profession that you choose, there are three aspects to it. You know, I learned it from a great teacher who says that three things. Dr. Howard, I will translate it for you because it's in Hindi. It says there is Shastra, Vidya, and Tantra. Shastra is the science of something. Vidya is the knowledge of something, and Tantra is the skill of something, right? You're learning about the science of education through psychology of learners, psychology of learning, and whatnot, even assessment in your B.Ed course. So you've learned the science of it, but that science has to be equipped with knowledge with what is there in front of me, who is my clientele over here, and then the skill and the technique to then take your students to that particular level. That has to be learned. Skill has to be learned. So skill of questioning has to be learned. How much are you practicing in your B.Ed course or in your internship? It has to be acquired over a period of time. Again, as Alka ma'am was saying, the type of questions have changed. You have case study based questions now. So if I do not know how to frame a case study based question, or how to even answer a case study based question, how to guide my children to read through that case study based question, because I have never done it as a student. So how will I know? How will I equip them? If I do not know what is collaborative learning strategy, how will I implement it? I do not know how to bring up experiential learning. How will I proceed with experiential learning? How will I do a good job at what I am doing? Unless, how will I become a good professional? Unless and until I have equipped myself with everything that is required to become better every day. So I have to work beyond my comfort zone. Professional development is very, very important, and we call it CPD for a reason. That's continual professional development. Tell me, if I was to fall sick today, I'm not going to go to the nearest MBBS doctor, am I? Or any other doctor who's got a graduate degree, right? I look for a super specialist. Why? Because I believe that his knowledge base is very high. That's the first thing that I look at. Second, I'm going to look at for how many years this person has been practicing. Because again, the experience base is very large. Third, I'm going to take a feedback from different people to say, how is this person? What is the success rate? How many people got better? This, that, and the other. So I want to see what strategies this person is using and how effective his delivery of his work is. And next, I'm also going to see, suppose I go to such a person and I find that person extremely rude, okay, not bothered about what I'm saying, not even attentive to listening to what I'm saying, I may not go to that person again. Does he have empathy for me, to what I am going through, right? So teachers have to be trained on empathy. We believe that it is natural. Trust me, it is not natural. It has to be developed. So if teachers have a great empathy for their students, I think they're good to go with the continual professional development program, because they understand that I cannot be where I was to get a better outcome for my student. Like a family head will think that I want to give better education to my children, so I cannot be doing what I've always been doing, and this is my kitty and money that is coming home. Right? So the person is upgrading himself to bring something better for the family. The teacher has to do the same. So continuous professional development, yes, it is going to need additional time. Yes, it is required in all areas of work evolution that we were talking about. It is required in content, it is required in classroom culture, it is required in delivery of the content with all the methodologies Alka ma'am was speaking about. It is required in terms of developing your network of educators, being yourself global first before you throw this term to the students and saying you're global citizens. Are you a global teacher for them to become a global citizen? That's another thing. Are you truly inclusive? Are you truly addressing diversity? Are you truly attentive to the needs of the students? So these things, some of them are inherent, but they have to be taught, they have to be learned. And whatever opportunity you get to learn, I appreciate Kinnari for using this statement, which is my true belief, that nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes to waste, right? Any experience, every experience, even today listening to you is a great contribution to my life, because I have enriched my life by being here for 2 hours with you. Right? So teachers have to understand that nothing goes to waste. And there are so many professional development platforms available, ma'am. Not everything has to be paid for. There are a lot of professional courses which are free of cost, including IIM Ahmedabad course in leadership. There is a course which is free, and then you see value in it, then you can pay for the certificate, right? You go through the course first. So there are many courses, there are many platforms. You see Udemy, you see Coursera. There are multiple platforms which offer you these courses free of cost. When teachers start working on knowledge for the sake of knowledge, that I want to earn more knowledge because then that broadens my knowledge base, then they have moved forward in their professional development. So CPD must be planned by all the leaders in association with the teachers, in discussion with the teachers. Teachers often pick up random courses which may not add any value to their profile in terms of being an educator. Teachers must also understand through CPD discussions, when they explore multiple things, when there is a curriculum given to you, a lesson given to you, and you enhance it, you are working as a curriculum developer, right? When you take new methodologies of learning and implement them in the class, you are working as a content developer, as an instructional designer. When you are attentive to the children's problem, you're working as a counselor. So these are your little experiences which give you a nudge into the direction of what is it exactly that you're really good at. And I say this to the teachers at my school and all the teachers who are listening. You're not going to be a teacher forever. Is that what you signed up for in education? That I have to go to a grade 6 class and teach English every day for days together, years together, years together. That's not what you're meant to do. Go beyond that, look beyond the horizon. So if you move to a broader range, there are others who will fill in to where you were. That's how the clan grows. Otherwise, nobody wants to come to education today. Am I right, ma'am? I mean, people really think that they do not have that kind of glamour around the profession, right? Because we are undermining ourselves by thinking that we are teachers, so we are bechare types. We are downgrading our own profession because we are not expanding in our profession, not bringing that kind of professional development, right from time management skills to data management skills, to understanding empathy, to understanding global trends in education, and coming up with something new, which is your contribution to education. What is it that you have contributed at the end of the day to anything, maybe the lives of 5 children? Is it because of you that somebody took up medicine? Is it because of you that somebody who didn't understand what was his or her calling realized what it was? So professional development is not a term not a tick mark in your annual cycle where you are up for appraisal and you finish so many training programs. It is also how you use that training in delivering what you are delivering. So it's a holistic approach. It's not something which is in compartments, that I teach, then I do CPD, then I do this. This is all holistic. And ma'am, today's family structure, if you see, children need us more because parents are really very busy. They do not have the emotional time and physical time also to spend with their children and to be at it all the time for their own challenges. So if we are not taking over that role, at least to some extent, we are not fit to be teachers. That's what I believe. And I'm going to end with something which is very beautiful, which I've been recently reading, and I think I quote it everywhere that I go. So sorry if it is repetitive, maybe. So I'm reading a book by David Epstein. I have to thank a friend who got that book for me. It's called Range. Okay. So it talks about how people with range contribute the best to the world and to the society and for their own self also. People with range who can do multitude of things, many things. I'm a researcher, I'm a trainer, I'm a this, and I have become all this, little bit of everything. and maybe a specialization in something, right? People with range are going to rule the world. And I think there is nobody better with range than a teacher, right? They are the best at range. Only if they know how much range and how much width they have, only if they have that self-reflection, I think CPD is just one term. I believe that they will come up with what it is. There's some things that are mandatorily to be done, because you're a particular board or a particular school or whatever. But CPD is way beyond that. It's when you make a profession and a career out of a job that you landed. That is when you have done your professional development. That's, I think, that I speak out of a lot of passion for this, because I feel responsible for the teachers who work with me. So they cannot remain at the same place where they were when they came to me. Right. So as leaders, it is then our job as well to guide them correctly. Thank you for the patient listening, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Priya. So indeed, it was very, very enriching listening to you, especially, when you talk about Shastra Vidya and Tantra, and especially the last part, I hope at my college education, we are making our students realize who we are rather than what we do, and, and helping them to understand and analyze their own range. And I hope, we do a lot of things, which make their range really, really broad. And of course, when we talk about stagnancy and when we talk about CPD, and I think how CPD is a very continuous professional development that throughout the life. And like you rightly said, I wouldn't want to be called as a teacher all throughout. You have to move from starting to becoming a teacher to, a facilitator, and then the road is very, very long ahead. And I think all of the other panelists have also oriented us as to what lies ahead, and how excited all of us are there to reach different milestones. My next question would be to Dr. Howard. Before progressing on to the question, I do see that some of the participants are very eager to ask some questions, and there are some questions related to special education. So we also have Dr. Kalpana Kharade with us. We'll shortly be going to her with some of the questions related to special education. Of course, Dr. Kalpana is a very renowned educationist herself. So Dr. Kalpana, be on your toes. We'll be very shortly putting a focus on you as well. But before that, my question to Dr. Howard Key: what are the potential career advancement opportunities within the international school, and how do educators progress their careers in this setting?
Okay, so I think that the flow of the conversation from Priya to me is fairly unbroken here, really, in the sense that I think she set this up beautifully in terms of a more informed understanding of continual professional development. Just as I see curriculum vitae, which have long lists of things which everybody does in the classroom, as if that was something that I was going to be interested in. Equally, I often see long lists of certificates that have been achieved. And how have they helped is the question that comes in my mind. It seems to me that some people collect certificates like little boys used to collect stamps. And what is that actually meaning? So I think that Priya really built this conversation up very well, that there must be meaning and purpose in your professional development. And so I think that within the international school system, there are lots of opportunities for that. I think the international curricula, I think as I've touched on before, you get in there, you do a couple of years of teaching, and then you realize that, yes, you would like to be the person leading the development of a unit of inquiry in PYP, or you're the person who wants to put together a cross-curricular project with the maths teacher and the science teacher and the cookery teacher, or you are the person who now wants to take some students under your wing and help lead them through one of the really challenging areas of the IB diploma, which is the extended essay. I don't teach A-levels, but I believe there's something quite similar there as well. These may or may not bring you any financial benefit, but they will require you to engage with new concepts, work with students in different ways, work with different colleagues in different ways, and help you to put together your vision and your understanding of what your role is and how your role can develop. And that gives you the power to speak for yourself. Because I think we've all said it in different ways. A teacher can just come along and do a job as a teacher for years and years and years. What is that saying about them? What do we want to see? What makes us feel better about ourselves? And what we assume and understand will make others feel good about themselves is when they understand their purpose, and when they can see how they can improve that purpose or improve their skills to deliver that purpose, and how that purpose then evolves and develops in other ways. And so particularly Kinnari was talking about all the various options that are there for you as an educator. I mean, when I came to India, I came as a teacher. I was looking for leadership roles, but then now I'm also in a position where I'm actually enjoying doing professional development outside of my school and school improvement roles. And because for me, that helps me to continue to build my purpose, which is to have a vision of what high quality education looks like and ensure that more and more young people are fortunate enough to get it, but also to ensure that more and more of the fabulous young teachers that we meet are liberated to do what they're really good at, as opposed to being turned into automatons by very rigid and bureaucratic systems. I know I'm wandering around the subject, but I think, you know, we have to recognize that in a fast growing sector like the international education system, if you go into it with a very positive and focused approach, you will be moving into leadership positions quickly. I have two friends who were both principals before the age of 30 in this country. I have other, you know, I have other ex-colleagues who are occupying high leadership positions in large, highly respected schools across India, who have got there in their mid-30s. And you know, because they have vision, because the children see that they bring value and their parents see that they bring value, and therefore their school leaders see that they bring value. So don't wait for opportunities to be given to you. Identify that each time you move into a new space, occupy a new role, push yourself outside of your comfort zone, you are creating your growth, and that growth gives you greater strength. Don't expect to be paid for everything you do. Don't watch the clock and count the hours. And remember, sometimes you could mark less, plan better, respond better, and give yourself some time to do that extra bit with the students or with your colleagues that actually is going to empower you. Give yourself permission to take time off the day-to-day drudgery and actually go and enjoy the development for yourself. Somebody said very wisely, you don't have to pay for all of it. The best professional development that we deliver in school is the professional development where teams of teachers come together and lead on a subject. Really, really powerful, really engaging, inspiring for their colleagues, because then they see, I can do that next time. And you know, and a good opportunity for the skilled and the experienced leaders to take younger baby teachers, as we call them, and give them the same platform, and you know, happy, genuinely happy, fulfilled people at the end of that experience. So I think that's the river has flown on in our conversation, and I think that the opportunities are there, and there are many, and they are diverse. Look for them.
You, Dr. Howard, and very rightly pointed out that, you know, we do look forward to teachers now diversifying into roles of a leader and So we have one or two courses in our college that is a postgraduate diploma in educational leadership and management, and we also have now a master's of arts in educational leadership and management. And trust me, we really enjoy teaching those courses. You know, it brings a very different dimension to the whole concept of how do we, create images of a teacher, and how, we never imagine them to be leaders and managers and administrators as well as policymakers. And this is where we need to start thinking about teachers very differently. So very rightly pointed out, sir. My next question to Dr. Priya. In what ways can educators contribute to educational policy making and advocacy efforts to drive positive changes in the education system?
Ma'am, they are the only ones actually who can contribute, and they are the only ones who must be contributing, because educational policies come a lot of times from people of which not all of them are from this background, and they've not experienced the day-to-day classroom. So it's very essential that people who are experiencing the day-to-day activities of the classroom and are well aligned, attuned with what the learner needs today and will need tomorrow, they should be contributing to it. So there is a huge scope, but as I think Alka said about the mindset, so it's very important to change your mindset and to have a growth mindset. You spoke about, many of the panelists spoke about teachers and researchers. So how will you contribute to a policy if you do not have any evidence to show that this works better, right? Evidence-based research is what will count. Data-driven research is what will count. And that is why if you learn to make data-driven decisions, if you're willing to work with data, creating data, working with data, making meaning of that data, and then giving your inputs into what works better, I think they can start small, first at the school level, then at the organizational level, and slowly larger organizations can take this to the policymakers. That's one chain of thought. Secondly, even when the draft policy for NEP it came, everybody was invited to comment on it. Okay. And there is not just this draft policy, but there are a lot of such opportunities which come to teachers. There are research papers, so somebody carrying out a research and wants an input from the teachers. We must be open to contribute to it at least, right? So if the draft policy was circulated, unless I read it and I had something to say to it, there won't be any change. Because if many people, most of the people rather, are pushing for an agenda saying that no, this doesn't work, this is not going to work, that's got a weightage with the policymaker saying that, oh, there's going to be a lot of uproar about it when it is rolled out, or it's going to cause a lot of disturbance in the day-to-day routine of the teachers. So let's look at an alternate way. Another way of looking at contribution to educational policies is that at any level, whether it is at school level or at organizational level, don't just come with the problem that this doesn't work, right? Come with a solution that this is not working. Can we look at this, and this? I know that for this, these are the resources, these are the resources. So come with a holistic picture that, okay, these are the avenues that are still available, and then let's pick up the best. Let's not be ego driven that I took one initiative and I proposed one particular thing to the policymakers and they didn't take it, so why should I do it again? Okay, so you have to understand challenges at that level also, because policies have a very large scale impact. A policy is not made only keeping in mind the premium schools of the country in metro cities. One has to look at this schools which are in the interior most regions of the country. Okay, so you have to, when you have, so again, empathy towards a policy that is being made is also very important, and looking at it from that point of view. And essentially, your educational practice and your educational landscape of your mind has to be really strong to be able to contribute to anything. So unless you have broadened your mind to that level, anything that you contribute will not come effectively, will not come with evidence, will not come with conviction that this has to be done and this is the result it is going to bring. So education, see, educators have power. but we have given away that power to others because we are just, because we are not able to demonstrate our own effectiveness effectively. That is the reason then we have to take orders from others. So if you want to lead, you have to be in the forefront and you have to step in those shoes. Then only you will be able to lead from the front. So definitely educators can contribute. And also one more point I wanted to add. Many educators have really very good practices. If not at policy level, still they have an opportunity to show those practices on various platforms. Like you said, Alka ma'am said LinkedIn, or Kinnari said through LinkedIn, or profile building to other channels. That way, there are a lot of competitions which come up from various organizations, including boards, right? But most of the times I see that whenever something like this is sent, that okay, there is this platform where you can showcase your best practices or show what you have done with children, evidence-based practice. Teachers do not have any documentation data, and there is some kind of inhibition in participation in this. So I don't know why. If you're doing good work, why don't you want to highlight it or showcase it? I have experienced this. So you send something across, but you will hardly see one or two takers, whereas many of them have good practices. So we have to become more, document oriented and research oriented to be able to contribute to anything first. Thank you.
I agree with Dr. Priya. We have a lot of best practices, but there is no sharing, too much of sharing that is happening. And unless and until we don't share the resources, we don't share our ideologies, we don't share what we're doing, how would the whole ecosystem, evolve? We are a part of the ecosystem. So if people, the others in the ecosystem are not evolving, I cannot evolve as well. So we need to have this concept of a unified whole. I'll go to Ms. Kinnari Kotecha now. So Kinnari, my question to you is, what is the scope of Indian students abroad in terms of careers in education? Because, we do look up, thinking about what do, other countries offer to Indian students, specifically a career in education.
Great. So there's a huge good news here for all the Indian educators, and whichever level we are at and whatever we are doing, or whether we are thinking of entering education right now. So the good news is that if you go statistically, before I talk about my own opinion, I'll go statistically. So UNESCO report says that by 2030, there's a huge shortage of educators across most of the countries. If we observe, the vacancies in England have gone higher by 93% in our education field post-pandemic, okay? And personally, I observe that there is a huge deficit of English teachers. There is a huge deficit of mathematics and science teachers. There's a huge deficit of specialized subject teachers, because we came up with different curriculums. We came up with New Zealand curriculum, American curriculum, IB curriculum, but then they offer specialized subjects. So where are these specialized teachers? Where are teachers for technology? Where are teachers for engineering? Where are teachers teaching media, and commercial arts? Where are these teachers? So there is a huge deficit out there, and that needs to be compassed. Now, with this, why did this happen? There's a lot of negativity around. So if you're going to be an engineer, would you think, oh, Microsoft sacked everyone and Apple is sacking people, let's not enter this field? So then every field has its graph changing, okay? So we have to accept certain things, that earlier you used to get a job and you used to stick to a job for like N number of years, and your job would be very secured as an educator, okay? Now, this is not a current scenario. The current scenario says that you update yourself, you perform, you grow, and you like everybody's saying, like, you grow. But then you are stagnant and not contributing, you might as well not have that job at a certain point of time. So this is a change. Now, why does this change happen? So we have new educational policies across all the countries right now. Okay, so America came up with core curriculum, and then there is a change in UK policy because they saw that mathematics is not improving, sciences are not improving. Here we say PISA score is not improving in India. So we have educational policy which came up in India. So why these changes are happening is because of this. Again, very, very nice thing to highlight over here. There were a lot of humongous amount of courses running on name of teachers training and teachers qualification across the world. Okay, so many people came up from UK saying that you get this done and you will get a job. This have been scrapped up. This have been completely scrapped up, and they said that new qualifications are only going to be this, which are going to be accepted, and teachers have to be from this category of this qualification. Otherwise, we are not taking you as teachers. Okay, so this is something new which is happening, and we need a lot of teachers who are well qualified. Okay, now the good news is that the B.Ed from India is accepted across a lot of countries, including Canada, which is an easy percolating market right now. You want to apply to Canada, is so easy, and you will get qualified, you will get in soaked in there. China, Japan, South Korea, Middle East. I mean, so many of it. And when I say this, I'm not motivating you to just move out of India, because India is also a very big upcoming market. But you have to understand something. Your qualification being accepted across the globe is such a big advantage. Okay, and how is it an advantage? We being women, I remember in my batch so many years back, a decade back, ma'am, there were most of the people were women's. Most of the students who wanted to become teachers were women's, and hardly there were men's. Okay, and the constraint of the mind used to be that my husband works here, so what is the use of moving abroad? No, now think about it in a very different way. You don't know what's coming next in their life. Second thing, think about the fact that a country is ready to absorb you, give you a tax-free salary in some cases, give you a good salary, give you housing, a premium good housing, give you child's education, give you dependent visa, give you medical. Which profession is doing this for you? I mean, research, you will have hardly few professions where you are highly professional, where you get these advantages. Okay, so I mean, you're making a big thing out of one degree that you have. Of course, you grow in that, of course. So these are the things. So there is a huge thing. I saw Germany recruiting a lot of teachers. UAE is recruiting a lot of teachers. Middle East is recruiting a lot of teachers. Unlike Qatar, Kuwait right now is not recruiting teachers. It's very easy to get in. For example, Germany, Australia gives you a job visa. You go on a job visa, you find yourself a job, you settle down, you call your family, and life starts. Easy countries to go is Singapore, UAE, where you just come on a visa, you find yourself a job like I did, you get back and you call your family and everything is set. When you come here, your house is set and you start your job. So the job market is huge. The only thing that everybody has been talking here, from Alka to Mr. Howard to Priya ma'am, is mindset. There are so many educators who come in UAE. I know them personally because I help them to come here, and they do not stay here because of the fixed mindset. This culture is like this. Why are they asking us to do so many hours of education? Why are they doing this? Look at the positivity. Look at how it's going to change you. Even when I came in, it was difficult for me due to some cultural things that are here. I was not ready for it because I come from a very different, Mumbai thing kind of a thing. But no, it's positive. Look at the positive side of it. Go with the flow. At least stick to the system for some time, and because you're coming out of your comfort zone. I had a very, very beautiful job with Podar. I was doing well. I was already being promoted every year, and I was doing phenomenal job. So when I came here, I was coming out of my comfort zone. But believe me, and when you start something, you're not going to be at a premium level always. You're going to go through steps. I started as an educator over here, as a teacher, and then I said, no, my passion is teachers training. My passion is curriculum. Where do I do that? So I got myself another job where I was doing curriculum for Pearson. From that, I got opportunities to do teachers training, and I grew, and I'm doing what I wanted to do. So give it some time, and you will be where you are. As far as the job market is concerned, it's highly positive for educators. Even the US, Canada, UK, everybody is recruiting teachers right now, and our advantages are good knowledge and good qualifications. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Kinnari. And it's very encouraging to know that, our degrees are being recognized all over the world. That's a big, big encouragement. And of course, with the new education policy and, us now rapidly changing into a very, very dynamic and quality education, I do see, a very, very promising future for all the aspiring young teachers that we have today with us. My next question would be to Ms. Alka Bansal. What are the unique career opportunities available within educational technology companies for educators? And what role do educators play within educational technology companies? And how can their expertise be leveraged to develop innovative educational products and solutions?
Thank you, ma'am. So I will just pick up from where Dr. Howard Gee left is opportunities. So the education technology world is full of opportunities. So yes, there are a lot of opportunities which are already listed out. The roles are already defined, but this is a new market altogether. The edtech is a new game, and you see every now and then there are new startups coming up. And who are these people who are starting these edtech startups? Are those people who have ideas? So I will definitely list down the roles and responsibilities and the kind of job profiles that are available in the education edtech world right now. But I would also want to draw the attention to the fact that if you have an idea, if you have the mindset, if you have the will, desire, and the right, combination of things to create something new, a differentiator, I think it's a world out there. So don't restrict yourself to what is already there on the, menu, but you all, EdTech is right now an open menu where you can add on new things. So if you feel you have a niche, if you feel that you have something which you can deliver to the industry where, you feel there is a problem for which nobody has devised a solution, and you think you have the idea, you have the, way to create the solution, go to an EdTech company, put your proposal there, and, your job is created for you. So that's the kind of acceptance that is there in edtech world right now. Every edtech owner is looking for new ideas. How can my company be different? Can a person come up with a new idea? In fact, when I started my journey as a phonics teacher, as Kinnari said, it was almost 2.5 decades ago. And that time in India, phonics was it was a term which nobody would understand. Nobody knew what it was. And it was an idea. It was a big thing, and it clicked. Why? Because we came out with a niche. We came out with something which is unique, which was a differentiator, and it worked. So coming back from that, if you have this idea, this can always convert into a product and you become a product development specialist. So you have ideas which you convert into some kind of module, some kind of product. So this is one kind of profile or role which is very popular in edtech world. Of course, curriculum specialists or subject matter experts are so much in demand. Just as teachers are in shortage, you have curriculum specialists who are in shortage. Now, there is a slight difference between how you approach being a curriculum specialist or a content writer vis-a-vis when you are a teacher. When you are a teacher, you are looking to a particular textbook, a particular board, you are looking to certain learning outcomes, or you are very much driven with the framework that is given. But when you're telling that you are a curriculum writer or you're a content specialist, that means you're a master in that subject. So your knowledge, your depth, breadth, so for that subject, you will not restrict yourself in any form or manner. You are not in a controlled environment. You are allowed to explore and find out how deep the knowledge is or what the concepts are, because only then you can be called as a specialist. That's the one thing that individuals need to understand when they are, going for a curriculum specialist role or for a content developer role, because there you need to again have a very broad mindset and a research mindset. Only then you will be able to apply for such jobs and positions. You have instructional designers. Now, instructional designers need to have a strong creative mindset, very good language skills, should be able to empathize, should be able to get into the minds of the audience for whom what is the environment in which this instruction will be given, who are the receivers, what are we going to drive out of these instruction. So those are the kind of things that these instructional designers need to think. They have to be extremely creative. They should be able to convert everything into mind maps. They should be having a strong design thinking skill. They should be visually very equipped, and of course technology, they should be aware of the technology to be instructional designer. Then of course you can become educational consultants. So these edtech companies, they have people who write codes, who create the framework, who generate the platform, but those are hardcore software developers. They don't understand the emotions of educationalists. They don't know what is the ethos in the education world, or what is the expectation in schools, or what is it that the teacher requires, or what is it that will make the parent happy, or what is it that will be the students need. So these coders, they will only create the system for you. You have to tell them what is it that you want them to create. You have to write the story for them, and then they convert your story into an edtech solution. So these are your education consultants who identify the problems, identify the issues, conceptualize the solution, and provide the solution in written or forms to the coders or the developers or the backend writers who create such solutions for them. So this is another thing. Since data is something which is a very in thing, creating the right kind of data reports, generating right kind of information. Now again, software developers or those platforms can just churn numbers and give something, but how should this number be represented? That only an educator knows, because he's the one who's going to use it. As a principal, only the principal can tell that what kind of data I need. If I want to do teachers appraisal, what kind of performance analysis tool that I require. So I have to devise, and I have to tell the education or the edtech company that I am looking for a system where I feed in XYZ data about my teacher and this. So the edtech company will only provide a solution. The requirement is given by this education consultant or this data specialist, who basically conceptualize how this report should be generated, how this should be represented in graph, what kind of analysis should be given to the school or to the school leader. So that conceptualization, understanding is there. Then you have market research specialists. So basically, like any industry, whether it's a product industry or an education industry, you have to have thorough knowledge about the market. Now, what is an education market? Education market is your schools, your universities, your classes, everything that is going to buy your product. A thorough knowledge about that. What is the demand? What is the, what are the trends? What are the competitions? What is happening in the global market? What is happening in the Indian market? So this is another profile altogether, which serves the edtech company. And you need to have a strong educational background to do justice to understand the market research and do the marketing for the company. So you have to be emotionally attached to this industry. You can't be from a medical industry and try to compensate that, okay, I have done 10 years of marketing in a medical industry, now I'm just switching and I'm coming into education. No, you have to understand the emotions that goes. Like, I feel everyone over here is very passionate about what they are doing. That is because we've spent so many years in this field and we understand the sentiments, and more or less we are all speaking on the same line. We are all very at the same wavelength, because we've understood this. Unless we have understood this, unless we have felt this emotionally, we will not be able to do a good market research. We will not be able to support an edtech company to pitch in for them. We will not be able to communicate with the product buyers or our clientele that will have. So these are some of the things. Of course, edtech startups require leaders. So you have management positions where your students of your leadership program that you're doing, your post-graduation education leadership program that you're doing. So there they have to do the whole management of an edtech team, where you have HODs and subject matter experts and your marketing people, and you have to lead all of them. Those students who are inclined towards art, who are interested in drawing, designing, they can become designers, graphic designers. It is unlike designers in the media field where they sketch. You have to follow instructions to the T from the subject matter expert. So these designers are those who give reality to a heart. When you are saying a pumping of the heart, the designer has to actually conceptualize and actually listen to the subject matter expert and show what he wants. He wants to show that, there is an arrow that is going from the right ventricle into the left ventricle, and so on and so forth. So that story idea has to be given a visual image by doing the drawing, and giving it that real picture is something that is so badly needed. Another thing is creating video story ideas. Converting every concept into a form of a story is something that is one of the demands. So extreme creative skills are required. Assessment specialists, just writing questions, like Priya ma'am said, if you think you can create questions of different levels, case studies, then there are startup companies which are creating test environments. They're just offering tests to the schools. We are giving you ready-made test solutions. We are giving tests for JE. We are giving you test practice for NEET. They are looking for such kind of developers who only specialize in writing questions and developing questions. So that's a niche altogether. So these are some of the few opportunities that I'm telling. But I'll tell you, the market is open. As I said, if you have a niche, if you know that you've identified a problem and you have a solution idea in your mind, you just want somebody to, drive your solution through, go to an edtech company with your proposal. And if they have the finance and if they have that whole thing, they will be most happily willing to take you, because what they are doing is every edtech company is basically creating more or less identical thing. How are they selling their product? They are saying that, okay, we have a platform with XYZ so many utilities. Why is one company better the other? Because someone is giving more, someone is giving a better solution. So if you've identified a problem for which none of the edtech company has provided a solution, then you become a market leader in that. You become a, solution provided for that kind of a problem. And for me as an edtech, as a company owner, that becomes a niche for me. I can sell that product through my platform. So opportunities are vast. It's just that you need to be willing to take that risk, go and try. Mindset is definitely a different thing, because it's not a 9 to 5 job. Like a teacher, you will not be having your vacations, you will not be having your school leaves, you will not have periods of dull. In fact, vacation period is the most high peak period, because you prepare for the entire year. So your April-May period is like when you work 12 to 18 hours, and it's a proper corporate world where you need to be committed throughout to your job. So you have to be very passionate about what you're doing. So it's not like, okay, sometimes it can be easy. It is not like that. So that is something which most important. Anybody who's coming from education wanting to be in tech needs to be, willing to accept that thing in the education world. Yeah.
Thank you, Alka, for bringing before us a lot of opportunities in the technology sector as well. And I mean, I wish this discussion goes on forever, because like you said, we're all very passionate about education. And, when like-minded people sit together, it's always a blast, and I wish we could just go on, but there is a paucity of time. And I think we're already running a little late in our schedule. So we would just skip the last common question because there are some questions from the participants. So meanwhile, I would ask my colleague, Ms. Takshashila Jadhav, to consolidate the questions. And while she's doing that, we'll move to Dr. Kalpana Kharade to just summarize her view on today's discussion.
I didn't hear your last part of your sentence, Pooja. I was just unmuting.
No. I just said, we would love to hear a very summarized version of the entire discussion of today from you.
Yes, I think it was first my deep appreciation for all these four eminent panelists. They have really spoken from their heart and for the future of our potential teachers, about the challenges which they may face, about the huge opportunities. In fact, it is like opening the wide open door for these opportunities in India and abroad. The kind of preparation they would require to make for this world. And that is taking, actually, the direction is taking to us, the teacher educators. So it is showing a huge challenge even for us to prepare our potential teachers for all these newly created worlds. And here I want to just show that when perhaps our potential teachers are listening all these four eminent participants, they may think perhaps that we are speaking about all those privileged sections, privileged children from very affluent families, and the schools catering to their needs. But at the same time, I think the time has opened a new section which requires attention from all of you, all the pre-service teachers, in-service teachers, and even all our 4 eminent panelists from where they are coming. Because that section is also very challenging, which requires again all those roles, all those competencies, all those skills, even technology solutions, and very importantly, the mindset to serve the children who are really in need of your attention. And that is the disadvantaged sections. They will be the 25% children who are coming to our schools under the name of RTE population. And they will be even the Divyang children who equally need you, because today they will not be satisfied with whatever you are putting in their bowl in the form of help given to them. But they also require the equal access, equitable quality. And for that, of course, the teachers would be prepared for all these new trends, which Alka was mentioning, Priya was mentioning, that is the personalized teaching or differentiation, equitable assessment, equitable teaching, equitable pedagogy, multicultural education. So all that is again showing us the wide world open and huge opportunities even for potential teachers to work with. So with this, I hand over my session to Takshashila.
Takshashila ma'am,
Yeah,
can we have
thank you.
some questions?
Yeah, thank you, Pooja madam. Thank you, Kalpana madam. Yeah, now we will go to the question answer session. So our participants have put forth many questions, and there are some questions which are focusing on what are the career prospects for special educators, and can these special educators teachers teach in normal classes as subject teacher? So this is the first question.
Yes, I can answer that question.
Yeah.
Special educator, to become special educator, you are supposed to do special D.Ed or special B.Ed. You cannot work with regular B.Ed teachers in special schools because you are not trained for that. But if you are trained for special education, you can be accommodated in regular schools as counselors or as shadow teachers, or as curriculum developers, or even the consultant. So to become special educator, you need to do a separate degree. Yes.
Okay. Yes. So the second important question which has been asked, I think there was a very good discussion over it, but still the participant has asked that what are the growing opportunities for all, and especially young teachers in India and abroad?
Okay,
Any
so
one
I'm
of
taking
the
up the question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I had answered quite much in detail that there are an enormous amount of opportunities abroad and of course in India as well for the young teachers, and that there's gone a time when people would only recruit you when you are highly experienced or something. Of course, you go as a manager at that point. But the market is open. The only thing is you should know how to apply to the market. People tell me from India that I kept applying online and there's no response. Some educators, they do come down to India, and generally I think in JW Marriott, and they do have a recruitment drive in India, in Mumbai and Bangalore and places like that. So you can be aware about it and you can go with it. Second thing is mostly you have to go down to the country to get the job. To be very honest, if you really want to work somewhere, you have to fly down, go there, see whether you can fit everything, and go and approach them and get your job. But the jobs are there in the market. You want to work, there are jobs, whether it's a special education or whether it's any field, any specialization, everything, the market is open.
Yeah. Thank you, Kinnari ma'am. There's one more question. Actually, the participants are curious to know that whether recession is affecting education industry or not?
I think I would like to answer that as school principal. You know, recession, nothing can ever affect the education industry. Okay. And education will never go out of, if you want to quote it like that, out of fashion, teaching actually one-to-one to students. Because even if you have online platforms and technology aided and personalized and home tutoring, whatever, nobody can replace the teacher, right? So I don't think, I believe that education is never going to see any kind of recession. But yes, it is very important that educators equip themselves to make themselves indispensable. Okay. Otherwise, if we are not well equipped and we are not ahead of the times, we are not, building those kind of skills and expertise that is needed for teaching the future of the country, then you will become outdated. So progress will be hampered. I don't think there is any recession happening in the education industry ever.
I think the growth of the international curriculum schools in India is way above any economic recession. Indians also spend the largest percentage of their income on education of any people around the world. Questionable as to whether they get value for money, but that's another matter. And of course, actually, that large percentage of income is spent in people in lower and middle income bracket families as well. But actually what you notice in recession is you will get people coming into the profession in recession because it's safe. So your personal opportunities may go down in a recession, not because there's fewer jobs, but because there's more candidates.
All right. Thanks a lot, Priya Madam and Howard Sir. There's another question. I think this is for Howard Sir. What do you expect as an IB board recruiter from a teacher who applied or for a job? Is it more degrees that a person holds, or he must be creative with his content, or both? He should have master's degree necessary to teach in IB board. So what do you expect? Yeah.
Very good question. So I expect somebody who can teach. And I would say the majority of people who I have interviewed within this country and watched their observed lessons can't teach. Quite simple, really. They stand up and talk at the children, or they start drawing on the board some physics equation. What I'm expecting to see is somebody who is able to assess the knowledge level of the students that they are speaking to, and understand how to develop learning from where the kids are to where the kids are going. Obviously, it's difficult to assess that in a short observed lesson of 40 minutes, but if you tell them, this is what they did last week, this is the next section, this is the topic we expect you to be teaching, it's based on, this is their age group, this is a class with some very mixed ability, this is a class with students whose English is a second language, then I expect the person to actually look like they've thought about that, engaged in the process and thought about how they are going to deliver the information, how they're going to maintain the students' interest, perhaps how they're going to give some diversity of activity. In 70 to 80% of the people I see coming from mostly IB schools in this city, I don't think that at all. So there's two answers to that. As an IB educator, that's what I want to see, and that's not necessarily a bar that you have to reach quite clearly in many schools.
Yeah, thank you for your insights on the question, sir.
I would
Now
just
there's
like
a
to add on to what
yeah.
Dr. Rajwade is saying. I think this question is not only relevant to the IB. I think now this is expanding to all the other boards and the entire education spectrum in India. A teacher should not limit herself to any kind of degree or, stick to the old methodologies. They have to actually understand and empathize with the students' need, come aware and prepared in the class with that, and should adapt and change their methodologies and use they should first of all think that they are not going there to teach. They are the objective is not to teach, but the objective is to make sure that students learn. So that is a very important shift in the mindset. And they have to be willing to move around in the class, use methodologies rather than chalkboard and content as a driving factor. Because I'll tell you now, students are aware of the content is really there in the tech, there on the click of a button. Students just don't need the content, they need to know how to transfer this content in the real world context where it is relevant. So these kind of methodologies need to be adapted, and this is not limited to IB. If they get these qualities in them, I think they would succeed anywhere in the world as teachers, not just IB.
Thank you, madam. Now there's a next question. The participant is curious to know that how he or she can get into government schools in foreign countries.
Okay, great, difficult question. So listen, the first thing is that there are government websites. For Germany, there is a website. For UAE, there is a website. You go to the website, the government website only. There are no agents available out there, so don't get fooled. Go to the government website. Now there's a huge list of documents they would ask you. They would ask you from police clearance to your educational degrees, which are attested. Okay, so you have to spend quite a lot of around 16,000 to 20,000 rupees to get your degrees attested, which are equivalent. That is called equivalency or something like that. So you get it done. You upload that. You have your IELTS score. You put up your IELTS score. Now IELTS score will be listed on the website whether you want to be an English teacher. Now, they generally used to not take Indians as an English teacher because they prefer native English speakers, but that has changed because of the shortage of English teachers right now. So whatever professional qualifications you have, all has to go on their website. Every detail has to be filled. Mind it, do not write any wrong information because they verify the information. They do call and they verify how you were. I remember the colleagues in Podar where I wrote the name, they had a call for 1 hour verifying about me, who I am, what did I say, and whether it's right or not wrong. So they do everything. If you do not have one requisite that they have asked you for example, you do not have an IELTS score, which is like 7.5 academic or whatever is asked, okay, for your subject. So sciences have little less. Science and maths do not require 7.5, they require little less. You do not have that, they will not call you. You have all the things in place. They will make sure that you get a call from their external agencies or whatever, and they will take it forward. And it's a long procedure. It's not going to be they called you today and then you 1-2 months you will get recruited. No, it may take 4 months, it may take 6 months. So keep that in mind. It's a long procedure because landing a government job is something great and privileged thing. So understand that there is a cost that you pay for it. One certificate missing is not going to get you a job.
Can I just add a little bit to that, which is not less factual than Kinnari, but I think worth thinking about. Be careful what you wish for. I know I've just had an article shared with me about the UK looking to recruit teachers from English-speaking countries, effectively the former, the countries of the Commonwealth, basically. There are shortages of teachers in the UK. What you are likely to find yourself in is extremely challenging teaching environments in inner cities with levels of behavior that I honestly don't think you would believe if they were described to you. Yes, you might get a decent amount of money. If you're living in London, that won't necessarily make you rich. If you're living in some of the cities in other countries, it would give you a very good standard of living. But it is brutal, and there's nothing I've seen about the teaching qualifications in this country that prepare you for it. So I would suggest that what I do know some people do is that they save up and they go to the UK and get UK training. I have a a young teacher trainer who I'm sort of mentoring at the moment, who's studying in Sunderland in the UK, and that qualification will train you up to deal with that sort of environment. So yes, the British government's doing some flashy scheme. They're going to bring people in from Nigeria and India and things like that. I would think more intentionally and look at saving up the lakh required to go and get training in the UK if that's where you want to work.
I would just add up to this. He's extremely right. That's why I said the market information is very important, because you think that students are same everywhere. It's not the case. You can be really brutally, taken. You should research about how students are abroad, what kind of things happen. And certain countries would have you to qualify their qualification. That means you have a B.Ed, so you will get an opportunity to become a part of them, but you get yourself a licensed teaching NQT or something to get into the system. Okay, so Middle East doesn't have that. Middle East gives you an opportunity to join and then get you qualified on their expenses. But when it comes to UK, you have to get your IPCGC or NQTs done. So that is one thing, and prepare yourself to see something you have never seen. That is true. Standard of living is so high, this teacher's salary would not satisfy it. So find out about the labor market and then go into it.
All right, thank you, everyone. I think the question is well answered. Now, Raina here wants to ask, like, to work in curriculum development at an international level, what are some of the areas one should improve in?
I think I'll take that. To work in curriculum development at any level, one needs to be very thorough with the knowledge of the subject. They need to be well read, well researched, and should be very creative in how they're approaching towards the subject. Their knowledge should be not restricted to one subject, but they should have understanding of all the subjects, because they will require subject integration. They need to understand the different kinds of learners, that the theoretical knowledge is also equally important when it comes to curriculum development, because they have to follow certain guidelines. And when you're developing curriculum, you have to always understand that it's just not you who's going to deliver. It is going to be someone else. So your curriculum, you have to have an understanding about people and people's mindset. You need to understand different pedagogies. You need to understand the policies that the schools have. You need to understand the different curriculum frameworks provided by different boards. So when you are aware of all of this, I think you will be able to become a good curriculum development in the Indian and the international market.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Alka madam. Now, there are some participants who are curious to know whether schools in India are following American curriculum. If not, what is the future of American curriculum?
Yeah, the American schools follow the American curriculum to start with, and I think a number of schools offer advanced placements, and it's always going to be one of the options out there in the market. I think that's true, particularly if you're looking at NRI families moving around the world. There are good reasons why they might choose that.
Thank you, Dr. Howard. Now, this is the last question. The participant is curious to know that whether he can teach history subject in foreign countries, being graduated from India.
Certain countries, yes. Certain countries, yes, you can. But remember one thing, that again, the social science, humanities is not considered like what you know, what you have studied is not what you're going to teach. You might have to upgrade to the new thing that they are teaching. You might have to modify to what they are teaching right now. Okay, I'm talking about the content as well, not only the teaching methods. So for example, because I'm sitting over here, any country wants to talk about their own history, their own context, relevance of their history. Okay, so the book that we read in India is very different from book that somebody might be promoting in their own country, or the knowledge, what I mean to say. So you can be taken in, but remember that this mindset has to be prepared, that I am not going to teach what I already know or what I did in my so many years of masters or something like that.
I think if you are doing the IB, it might be a little bit easier because there are certainly people within India who are already teaching European history. The IB tends to be, I mean, there are options to teach within the Indian context, but they're lesser. And likewise with Cambridge IGCSE. So I think that's true. And also, of course, very much it's a skills-based curriculum that is setting you on your skills as a historian. But I would agree with Kinnari that you're going to have to, unless you are good or interested in the history of that part of the world, if your only knowledge is Indian history, then you're probably going to struggle unless you're teaching in an Indian international school, of which there is a proliferation through the Middle East and Southeast Asia. So it's not a no, it's just be prepared to work at it and get interested in another area of history. But in terms of if you are a highly skilled history teacher and you're very good at it, there's no reason why you shouldn't. And interestingly, our history teacher was formerly working in Pathways up in Delhi, where she was teaching a very Indian history IB, whereas our school was very much a more Western history IB, and she's managed perfectly well. But also now she's here, she said, can I change to a more Indian one? And we said, of course you can.
Kinnari, I have a question to you. There was a time in our system that the IB schools were taking teachers who were not B.Ed because they felt perhaps that they would train them. So is it the train same or they today asking B.Ed as a compulsory thing? Or even abroad also?
Yeah, if you are asking about the system abroad, see, certain countries are going with the policy which is made by the ministry or the government, okay? So when the ministry says that I am only qualifying the visa of a teacher if she has teaching license or teaching qualification. So first thing is I got my qualifications attested, and now the thing is they are only going to take me if I have my qualifications. Now, when I talk about a premium IB school over here, they might be looking out for much more in that. So they would say, okay, Kinnari, you have B.Ed or M.Ed or whatever degrees you have. I'm very glad you are an excellent teacher, but I need you to be also qualified for IB. But there are certain categories of school who might take you having these things in place, okay? Because the ministry says so. It is as simple as.
From within India, there is no requirement in independent schools to employ people with with B.Eds full stop, as far as I know. And certainly I've taken people from various backgrounds to become teachers. And neither is there any requirement. There are two levels of IB qualification. There is, most of us are expected to put our teachers through some form of IB category 1 workshop before they're allowed to teach the IB, but that's a 2-day sort of experience. There are IB educator certificates, but I don't know of any schools that make that a requirement, and the IB diploma, the IB doesn't make it a requirement. I think the jury is open as to whether every member of staff teaching IB is expected to have gone through at least category 1 training. In my school, we would say yes. I think other schools might say so long as it's one person in the department, that's okay.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. G and Alka Madam, for answering the last question. And that's all for the question answer round. I summarized the questions and I have put forth because some of the questions were of repeated nature. Okay, so I pass on to Pooja Madam. Pooja Madam can take over now.
Yeah, thank you, Takshashila, for a very interactive question answer round. And though I don't want the session to end, but unfortunately, till we get together for another round of panel discussion, it's been very, very interactive and of course, very enriching. And I'm glad that, there are a lot of people like all our investors who are out there in their own ways. And, that is why when we talk about quality education, we look up to these panelists that who are there with us today. And, when we define quality, our definitions start with. So I would request my colleague, Ms. Usha Sharma, to please give a vote of thanks.
Good evening, everyone. I find immense pleasure to give the vote of thanks today. On behalf of KJ Somaya College of Education, we would first like to thank our eminent panelists for giving their expert inputs towards the theme Future in Teaching. Priya ma'am, your talk was really inspiring and informative. You made the teachers aware of differential roles that makes teaching as a profession. Ma'am, your talk will definitely get teachers to think of using art integration, artificial intelligence, AR, VR, and other tools in the classrooms. Ma'am, we assure you that we will provide you teachers with a willingness to go ahead for continuous professional development. Thank you, ma'am. Howard, sir, it was an honor to have you on the panel. Your expert tips were truly helpful as they have made us aware of opportunities of being updated with the latest trends and researches. I'm sure our teacher community would try to work on research and networking opportunities through the discussion forums so as to share their expertise. We had valuable insights and brilliant takeaways on the topic of future in teaching. Sincere thanks, sir. Kinnari ma'am, you have truly guided the participants to know the different career paths beyond traditional teaching, which are possible in our Indian education sector and beyond India. With your career mantra, we are sure that our aspiring student teachers will definitely research the job trends so as to move ahead on the varied career paths as per their skills and vision. Thanks, ma'am. Alka, ma'am, your expert inputs gave a deep and practical insight into the field of teaching and made the participants aware of their skills and competencies for being an educator. Your words will surely guide the educators to be prepared for performing their roles to the best possible way through their research skills. You have also given a lot of food for thought so as to incorporate use of integrated learning, AR, VR, as well as social media networks. And yes, your inputs about so many job opportunities in tech industry will help our prospective teachers to get placed as per their abilities. Thanks, ma'am. We know your time is precious and we are immensely grateful to you as you were able to find some time for sharing your expertise in today's panel discussion. We assure you that we will definitely prepare the future teachers as per your expectations and try to create teachers who can make a difference in future classrooms. Next, I would like to thank our principal, Dr. Pooja Birwadkar, for being a moderator of this panel discussion. We sincerely appreciate your invaluable thought line to guide this panel discussion as per the needs of our participants. It was truly an enlightening session, ma'am. We are looking forward for more such sessions. Further, I would like to thank my colleague Ms. Takshashila Jadhav for taking the question answer session and making the discussion more fruitful. Without missing, I would like to thank Dr. Kalpana ma'am to give her insights into this theme of future in teaching. Thanks, ma'am. Without missing the most important person who thought of this event, our admission director, Mr. Dolamani Sahu. I would like to sincerely thank you, sir, for thinking of this particular theme, which is the need for the art. Also, I would not miss to mention their team members, Ms. Manju Navani, Sejal Indulkar, and Vrishali Bhumra. I would like to thank each one of them for advertising for this event and also getting us this wonderful audience. And finally, I would like to thank the participants for making this panel discussion more successful. Thanks, everyone.
And on the behalf of the college, again, I would like to extend a warm thanks to all of you. And of course, we leave with a spirit that, this panel discussion was the first in the series, because I think all of us are wanting to talk more, listen to each other more, and discuss more. So, I'm looking forward to another one very soon with all of us back here.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Pooja.
you so
Thank you much, everyone. I enjoyed very much enjoyed meeting you and talking with you.
Same here.
Same here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am.
Thank you.
Pooja ma'am, are we continuing on the same link or you will send another link?
No, this is recorded. We will join.
Okay.